With the release of Tides of Terraria, we got a lot of amazing content that many players, including myself, were excited to see get added to the game. But as usual, one of the main things everyone was excited to see were all the new pals that we'd be getting during this update. And while many of these new creatures are pretty awesome in one way or another, especially all the Terraria monsters, the one pal that personally intrigued me the most was Neptilius. And now that the update is out and I've got to experience this pal firsthand, I've come to really enjoy having them as part of my team. So because I've really come to enjoy this pal so far, I wanted to show you all how to upgrade this legendary lurking Leviathan. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Speakerhead, and today I'm going to be showing you how to upgrade Neptilius. Now before we get into the video, I want to quickly talk to you all about today's sponsor, Berrybyte. Berrybyte is a server hosting service that allows you to create and run dedicated servers on a wide variety of games, including Palworld. I've heard you all enjoy my upgrade guides due to them being simple and straight to the point, and thankfully setting up a server with Berrybyte is as well. All you have to do is decide on how many players you want on the server, whether you're on Xbox or Steam, and where you want the server to be located. Luckily, they have servers across the globe, so no matter where you are, Berrybyte has you covered. And with their servers using the latest Ryzen-based hardware, you'll never have to worry about a laggy experience while hosting your server. And just like that, you can have a private dedicated server for you and your friends to play on. They even have configurable backups for your world, so you don't ever have to worry about losing your progress. Plus, with their affordable prices for Palworld servers starting at just $7 a month, there's no better place to get an awesome dedicated server. On top of their great prices, if you use my promo code SPEAKER20, then you can save yourself an extra 20% off your next server. Once again, that promo code is SPEAKER20 to save yourself an extra 20% off your next server. So if you're interested in hosting a dedicated server or just want to support the channel in general, you can check out Berrybyte by clicking the links in the description below. Thank you very much, Berrybyte, for sponsoring the channel, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. But with all that out of the way, let's get back to the guide. Now before we discuss any methods of upgrading Neptilius, it's best to go over some of the basics of this pal first. Neptilius is a pure water type pal that can only be found as a level 65 boss located on a small ice island far north on the map. It should also be noted that the only breeding combination for this pal is by breeding two of them together, so if you want Neptilius, then you'll need to catch the boss version of this pal. Talking about their partner skill now, once you unlock their saddle at level 63, they can be used as a ground mount along with being able to travel faster on water, getting access to their celestial the sea ability, which allows Neptilius to jump high into the air while over water, and finally while fighting together they'll follow up the player's attacks with spear strikes, so overall there's a lot going on with this pal's partner skill. But moving on to exclusive skills now, starting with passive skills. With Neptilius being a new legendary pal, they're one of the few pals in the game that can be found with a passive skill legend, and with this skill giving a 20% attack boost, a 20% defense boost, and a 15% movement speed boost. This is by far the best skill to have on any pal in Palworld. On top of this, while it isn't exclusive to Neptilius, they can also commonly be found with the passive skill Lunker, and with this skill giving a 20% attack boost to both water and ice type moves along with a 20% defense boost. This has easily made it one of the best combat oriented passive skills in the game at this time. Now when it comes to exclusive active skills, Neptilius is going to have one exclusive active skill, which is Thalassonic Laser. Finally, when it comes to their base skills, Neptilius is only going to be a level 4 in watering, which is great, but I was kind of hoping for a bit more from this pal. But with all the basics out of the way for Neptilius, let's get into upgrading them. So the first way to upgrade Neptilius is by getting one with good passive skills. While normally it takes me a bit of time to decide on what passive skills I want to give each pal for Neptilius, so it's honestly pretty easy with me going with Legend, Lunker, Demon God, and finally Musclehead. And since Neptilius will almost always have Legend and Lunker on them, the only skills you need to focus on getting on them are Demon God and Musclehead. Also by taking advantage of Yukumo's partner skill, which makes it easier to find wild pals with passive skills similar to itself, you can get all these skills on the Neptilius fairly easily. Also a new alternative you can do to get Musclehead on the Neptilius is by using the pal surgery table to install a Musclehead implant into them, and these can be obtained from any vigilante bounty officer for 30 bounty tokens. But getting back to upgrading Neptilius, these passive skills will give them an 80% attack boost, a 45% defense boost, a 15% movement speed boost, and finally an extra 20% attack boost to both water and ice type moves. Now if you want to give Neptilius's active skills more cooldown, then you can replace Musclehead with Serenity to gain a 30% cooldown at the loss of 20% attack. And if you wanted to give them a lifesteal effect, then you can replace Musclehead with Vampiric to gain that effect at the loss of 30% attack. Finally, if you want to use Neptilius as a mount to explore the map, specifically the ocean, then I would go with something like Legend, Swift, King of the Waves, and a Swimmer. Now for those who might not know what the last two passive skills are, these are new skills that were added during the recent update that will increase the movement speed of pals while swimming. A Swimmer will give a 40% movement speed boost while in water, and King of the Waves will give a 50% movement speed boost while in water. Also, both of these skills can be randomly found on any pal in the game. Now for the sake of this video, I'll be sticking with the first set of skills that I mentioned. However, a combination of any of the previously mentioned skills work great with Neptilius. So once you've gotten Neptilius with the passive skills you prefer, the next way to upgrade them is by using a pal condenser. Any pal can have their partner skill along with all their general stats upgraded in a pal condenser. On top of this, once a pal is fully upgraded in a pal condenser, all of their base skills will level up by 1 as well, which can drastically increase production speeds at any base. With a total of 117 pals, you can upgrade a pal 4 times in a pal condenser, with the first upgrade needing 4 pals, the next one needing 16 pals, the upgrade after that needing 32 pals, and the final upgrade needing 64 pals. But assuming it took you a few attempts to get Neptilius with the passive skills you prefer, you should have enough spare pals to upgrade them at least a couple of times in a pal condenser. So after you're all done upgrading Neptilius in a pal condenser, the next way to upgrade them is by using a Statue of Power. By using a total of 30 small pal souls, 18 medium pal souls, 18 large pal souls, and 90 giant pal souls, you can give a 60% boost to any pal's health, attack, and defense stats. And to get pal souls, you can do this in a wide variety of ways. The first way to get them is by farming them from pal drops. And to help you with this, here's a list of every pal in the game that drops pal souls. So the next way to get pal souls is by farming predator pals, which drop giant pal souls. And to help you with this as well, here's the current map found on Palworld's official website of where all the predator pals spawn. Another way to get pal souls is by doing the pal genetic research mission in the pal expedition station. I'll also mention that there are other missions that will give pal souls as well, but this is the only mission that'll give all 4 types of pal souls. Now the last way you can get pal souls is by fishing or doing salvages. By using a fishing pole, bait, and a powerful fishing magnet for salvages, which can be unlocked at level 61, you can get a wide variety of items including pal souls from both these tasks. I will mention that there's other ways of getting pal souls, such as finding them in chests or just on the ground all across the map, but all of the previously mentioned ways are how I personally stock up on pal souls. So once you're all done upgrading Neptilius and a Statue Power, the next way to upgrade them is by hitting that subscribe button and liking the video. I plan on uploading a lot more Palworld content just like this in the future, so if you want to see when that gets posted or just want to support the channel in general, make sure to subscribe. But getting back to the guide, the actual next step to upgrading Neptilius is by increasing their hidden potential stats. By using ability glasses unlocked at level 34, you can see the hidden potential stats of any pal in the game. And by using one of 3 types of pal fruits, you can increase one of these stats by 10 depending on which fruit you give your pal. Now in order to get pal fruits, you can do this through a few different methods. The first way to get pal fruits is by defeating either the Bellinor Libero, Blazemut Ryu, Xenolord, or the Moonlord raid bosses. The next way to get them is by buying them from any metal merchant located at any destroyed church on the map using dog coins. To get dog coins, you can find them by searching land and water salvage piles, elemental chests, supply drops, and treasure spots. On top of this, you can also get them through the Moonflower secret hideout mission in the pal expedition station. And finally, the best way to get dog coins is by getting them as drops from wild Mimogs. Also a helpful tip for hunting Mimogs to have a Catress with you while searching for these pals. While fighting together, Catress's partner skill will make neutral type pals drop more items when defeated, which works with Mimogs and dog coins. And don't forget to upgrade Catress's partner skill in the pal condenser to further increase the amount of dog coins Mimogs drop. But moving on to the next way you can get pal fruits, and that's by getting them from a vigilante bounty officer using bounty tokens. Bounty tokens are another form of rare currency that can only be obtained after defeating wanted NPCs across the map, with the more difficult ones dropping more tokens. Also, to help you get more bounty tokens, I recommend catching the wanted NPCs in high tier spheres and then butchering them to gain double the amount of tokens. And you can do this either by hand or with a pal disassembly conveyor. You could also use Splatterina and their partner skill to further increase the amount of tokens you could get. However, keep in mind that this ability only works with pals that are butchered by hands, along with it not always giving extra tokens with their ability. Finally, the last main way to get pal fruits is by buying them from the arena merchant using tickets, which can be earned after each arena victory. So while these are the main ways to get pal fruits, there is another way to increase your pal's hidden potential stats, and that's by using Dr. Braun. This is a special NPC that can be found randomly anywhere on the map that has the ability to operate on 1 pal per day. What this operation does is it'll either increase or decrease your pal's hidden stats depending on how the operation goes. A good operation has a chance of increasing a pal's stats by 30, along with possibly giving it a new random positive passive skill, while a bad operation will decrease a pal's stats by 30, along with possibly giving it a new random negative passive skill. So even though this operation is a bit of a gamble, I wanted to mention it for those who may be interested in trying this method out. But regardless of which method you decide to go with, you want to upgrade Neptilius's hidden stats until all of them are at 100. So once you've finished upgrading Neptilius's hidden potential stats, these are currently all the permanent upgrades you can do to them at this time. That being said, with the release of Tides of Terraria, there's actually quite a few temporary upgrades you can do to your pals these days. And the first of these temporary upgrades you can do is by increasing your pal's trust level. With the Tides of Terraria update, trust levels have been added to every pal, which can increase or decrease depending on how you treat your pals. Every pal will start with a level 1 trust level and can can go all the way up to level 10, which can increase a pal's general stats. And all you have to do to increase these stats is by doing things that'll get you experience, such as defeating pals or exploring new areas with these pals. However, another simple method of upgrading this stat is by feeding your pal kinship peaches. This is a new consumable that'll drastically increase a pal's trust level, with around 10 of these bringing a pal's trust level to 10. I also want to mention that I haven't had any of my pal's trust levels drop, so I'm not totally sure how easy it is to make these stats decrease, but since this stat does have the potential to go down, that's why I put it in this section of the video instead of putting it with the permanent upgrades. So moving on to the next way to temporarily upgrade Neptilius, and that's with food. Depending on what food you or your pal eats, they can grant a wide variety of benefits such as attack boosts, defense boosts, work speed boosts, along with many others. For combat purposes, I always go with Mammoth's Curry or Gilclaw Nikujaga. However, I highly recommend looking through all the different food options you can craft to see which ones might work best for you. Now the next way to temporarily upgrade Neptilius is by taking advantage of Kelpsie's partner skill. While in your party, they'll give an attack boost to other water type pals also in your party. With a level 1 partner skill, they'll grant a 10% attack boost. However, increasing their partner skill will also cause this boost to increase, with a level 5 partner skill granting a 20% attack boost. And since I've never really mentioned it in the past, this is the passive skill combination I'd recommend using for Kelpsie. But if you had 4 Kelpsies in your party with fully upgraded partner skills alongside your Neptilius, then they'd gain an additional 80% attack boost. Now moving on to the next temporary upgrade, and this is another new one, which is by using accessories. During this update, we received 3 new types of accessories that are meant to improve your pals. The acceleration bells will cause a pal's XP to increase faster. General support whistles will either increase a pal's general attack or defense stats. And finally, elemental support whistles will increase the damage output of certain element type moves. Also, as far as I'm aware, all of these accessories can be found in the same rarities as the player accessories. So for the sake of this guide, we'll only be focusing on the last 2 whistles. However, I did want to mention the first one since I'm sure some people will find that info helpful. But by using a combination of either of these types of whistles, you can greatly increase a pal's general stats or specific element type moves. And to make my Neptilius as strong as possible, I decided to use the rare attack whistle, a normal attack whistle, a rare defense whistle, and finally a rare water support whistle. Now I will mention on a regular basis I would normally replace the normal attack whistle and either the water whistle or defense whistle with player accessories, but as I just mentioned, I want to make Neptilius as strong as possible, which is why we'll be using the first set of accessories. So moving on to the very last way you can temporarily upgrade Neptilius, and that's by doing upgrades in the PAL Labor Research Laboratory. What this structure does is it'll give passive boost to your base and the pals working at your base depending on which paths you upgrade. There are 9 different categories you can upgrade, with each one having their own unique benefits. That being said, if you were to upgrade the far right path in all 9 categories, then you could give all the pals working at your base an 18% boost in attack and defense. Just keep in mind that these upgrades will only work with pals working at your base. But with that last upgrade out of the way, these are currently all the upgrades you can do to Neptilius. So if you upgraded your pal the same way as I did in this video, not including upgrades from the PAL Labor Research Laboratory, then their stats should generally look like these. But instead of just showing a bunch of numbers on screen, we're going to do a quick fight against normal mode Say and Selyne to test them out. Now before we do get into this fight, I do want to quickly address some comments I've seen in the past about why I choose the same tower boss for every fight, along with why I don't take part in any of these fights. And to cover these questions in order, the reason why I have every pal fight the same tower boss is to have a consistent benchmark for players to compare pals against. For example, if you want to see how a fully upgraded Necromus compares to Chicopee in combat, which you can do since I made an upgrade guide on both, you can watch the test fights at the end of both of these videos to see how much of a difference there is. Well, you could get the same general idea by seeing Necromus defeat even more difficult tower bosses. I've just found this way of doing things works best for me, which is why I do these fights like this. Also, for those who are curious why I specifically chose normal mode Say and Selyne for these test fights, that's simply because that's the strongest tower boss a majority of low tier pals can defeat without any help. And speaking of not helping, moving on to the next question of why I don't take part in any of these fights, and that also has a pretty simple reason. I don't help my pals during these fights mainly due to wanting to show off the pals' raw power rather than with the help of a player. With the player's character stats being able to change in a wide variety of ways, such as through different weapon types and rarities, accessories, and passive skill boosts, along with many others, there's just too many variables that can change to have myself take part in these fights. I know by doing this in some ways can hinder a pal's full power, Neptilius actually being a great example of this with their spear ability, but this is what I've found to be the most reliable and consistent way of comparing pals to each other. And if anyone has any suggestions on how I can improve these fights, make sure to leave them in the comments below. But hopefully this gives some reasoning to why I do these battles the way I do. And to help compare pals even better, we'll have a chart at the end of each battle showing how a pal did at the end of their fights. So now that we've gone over all that, the very last thing we need to go over is the active skills that my Neptilius will be using during the fight, which I'll put on screen now. But without further ado, let the battle against Say and Selyne begin. Alright Neptilius, let's see what you can do, buddy. Get 'em! Not too bad for the first attack. Tank that hit, Neptilius. Alrighty, just a few more good hits and she should be done for. One more good hit, Neptilius. I believe in ya. Nice job. Proud of you, buddy. Very good job. So with that battle all wrapped up, Neptilius will be the first pal on the board at the very top, and we'll see how long they stay up there. But that's going to be my upgrade guide on Neptilius. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you found this video helpful, and also let me know what pals you'd like to see me upgrade in the future. Finally, once again, thanks again to Berrybyte for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check them out in the description below. But that's all I have to say for now, so thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch all y'all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody.